I'm going to be talking to you today about artificial intelligence and getting the governance right. The importance of embedding risk, transparency, and trust when adopting, deploying, and using artificial intelligence. What we're going to be covering is having an understanding of a new international standard, ISO 42001, 42001, what it is and how it can be used as a tool for the public sector in the terms of governance of artificial intelligence. Exploring the use of artificial intelligence opportunities where they could be used in the public services to improve effectiveness, efficiency, identify cost savings, and improve performance. And to learn practical steps for the ethical, trusted, and properly governed use of AI when we do deploy it. So why does it matter that we introduce AI governance standards? And in particular, why does it matter within the public sector? Well, let's look at some examples of where, when it's done right, when it's done well, and with the appropriate level of governance, there are real tangible benefits to be had. Starting with the world of transport. Artificial intelligence built into surveillance cameras is being used in the world of crowd management, being able to detect overcrowding and triggering automated announcements, or built into workflows that allows for extra personnel to be deployed, barrier control to be introduced, gate adjustments to be managed, and a range of other things. Actually, across the world of transport, they're using AI for significant amount of data crunching. In the world of track management, looking at data that they've got around when there's likely to be subsidence or landslips in the event of inclement weather, and being able to predict that, and therefore being able to proactively change train speeds in danger areas, and a whole range of other things. Also, being able to use surveillance cameras for things like spotting loitering and individuals who are flagged proactively as potentially intending to commit a crime. One of the major challenges on the London Underground is around unwarranted touching, and we're able to utilise the knowledge of the teams, the human teams, who are currently being deployed to try and spot and prevent this, and build it into algorithms, and then use AI to help us to spot it, giving us greater coverage, improving public safety and improving standards. In local government, the use of smart TV for anomaly detection. Councils are using surveillance like this to be able to detect fly tipping, and not only to detect it, but then to proactively deploy council officers, possibly a police response, but also post-event, where necessary, to be able to use that data to identify how much of a response is needed for the cleanup, or for vandalism, or for illegal parking. And all of this in real time to improve community safety and to provide the service response so that our citizens get a better service from local authorities. And that's really important at a time when funding is really difficult to come by in organisations like this. The NHS and healthcare settings. The use of artificial intelligence in the NHS is a very hot topic at the moment, and there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes in terms of roundtables and policy development to make sure that this is introduced in a positive and properly governed way, especially when there's a lot of sensitive personal information being involved here as well. But again, sticking with the world of surveillance, what we're seeing is the enablement of facial recognition for detecting authorised staff entry, uniform, non-uniform in room, improving safety in high security wards, and a whole range of other things. So again, things that would normally require quite an intensive and high-cost human presence now being done by the technology. So a lot of cost savings and service improvements to be had in all of these areas. Let's look at ISO 42001 then. So first, why is this important? Well, first and foremost, it is the first ever standard for artificial intelligence as an international standard that focuses on the management of AI systems. Up until now, most standards have focused on technical performance or data security, but for the first time, this introduces a management system framework similar to 9001 for quality or 27001 for information security, but specifically tailored for artificial intelligence. And it has a structured approach to risk-based governance. And that is really important when we are deploying artificial intelligence systems. So the first area within this is AI governance and accountability. Well, why does this matter? What 42001 gives us is a set of guiding principles that enables us to have clear rules, responsibilities, and oversight for AI use. And in fact, what it actually says is that when deploying artificial intelligence systems, we should ensure that we have got top-level leadership accountability. Clauses like 5.1 and 5.2 require top management to take responsibility for AI governance. So not devolving it down to be an IT issue, but actually managing it as a leadership issue. And that ensures that ethical and legal considerations are embedded into strategic decision-making and not just left to technical teams. Risk management. Again, why does risk management matter when we're deploying artificial intelligence? Well, we need to understand what risks there are to a whole range of moral, ethical, legal, technical, and societal aspects. And we have to make sure that we have identified and introduced any mitigating AI-specific controls that can manage those risks. This also ensures that we meet other regulatory requirements like the UK GDPR, the Data Protection Act 2018, the Data Use and Access Act, and so on. And it also ensures that we build the risk management element into our governance processes so that we are reducing any risk to harm or distress or discrimination or any other human-centric risks, and they are being managed appropriately, including consideration to the risks of bias and discrimination and individuals being excluded from access to services because of incorrect algorithms or the deployment of it being done in a way that isn't properly controlled. Transparency and explainability, and this is really important. The ability to explain how AI has been introduced and deployed, and to make sure that that is done in a way that is understandable by the general public. The standard emphasizes internal and external transparency through user education, AI literacy, use of language, and being able to explain to individuals who might be impacted by that artificial intelligence how it works, what it does, what data it's collecting, why it's doing it, and what implications there are as a result of all of that. Especially important where we are using artificial intelligence for automated decision-making processes, where there is a very low level of human-centric intervention in that process. And we'll see later on in this why that is so important. It talks about life cycle controls. Managing artificial intelligence from design to retirement. This is really important from cradle to grave, from the start to the beginning. We have to have artificial intelligence governance all the way through. So governance by design, governance by default, a continuous assurance process that makes sure that any changes we make, any expansions that we introduce, any changes in scope are properly addressed and properly governed, and the risk management wrapper is there at all times. This ensures ongoing compliance with regulatory changes. So, for example, when the UK starts to introduce the AI regulation bill and that becomes an act and therefore it's legislation and mandatory, we should be growing with that and we should be preparing proactively to introduce any requirements that come out of that new legislation. This in itself also enables us to avoid legacy risks in any public infrastructure. And having human oversight. AI is not the replacement of humans. AI will be fantastic at being able to do huge amounts of data crunching and predictive analysis and doing the heavy lifting of things that we have to do manually at the moment, but it should not replace the human in the process in its entirety. And ISO 42001 says we must keep the human in the loop for critical decisions. We must have human intervention in the case that somebody flags up that the AI is doing something inappropriate or unexpected. And in so doing, we safeguard citizens' rights, especially in areas like policing, healthcare, benefits, and other local and other public sector areas. Here in the UK, we're seeing some, and again. And we're starting to see some AI governance trends. Here in the UK, we have a 10-year vision. Introduced in 2021, the National AI Strategy, setting direction for the safe and effective use of AI across public services. The UK government has now published their AI playbook, and again giving practical and role-based guidance for civil servants on the safe and secure adoption of artificial intelligence. And we've got new legislation coming through. So the Artificial Intelligence Regulations Bill 2025 will introduce UK-specific legislation. And the bill currently sets out proposals to create an AI authority. So an authority, a bit like the Information Commissioner is for data protection, but AI protection. Setting out regulatory principles, the use of sandboxes, more on transparency, responsible officer duties. Whilst not yet law, we should already become familiar with what's in this bill and be preparing our organisations for the legislation to come. So how can UK bodies leverage 42001? Well, if we use it as a standard with a set of guiding principles, then it will enable us to use it as the governance backbone. It operationalizes the playbooks, the roles, the oversight, the monitoring. It ensures that we get everything right in terms of ethics, and it makes sure that we're able to prepare and pre-align with the likely direction of UK legislation. Risk management, transparency, accountability, all of this enables us to de-risk future compliance. So we should be getting behind this now, and we should be preparing for the future now. So there's certain words that are coming up again and again. And one of those is ethics. Ethics and regulation go hand in hand, ensuring that we get this right. And some of the core principles underpinning ethics, that we manage data privacy, that we can ensure that where we are deploying artificial intelligence and it is collecting personal information, it's detecting, collecting information about individuals, it's collecting information that's allowing us to make public sector decision-making about citizens, that we can in turn meet our legal and moral rights to ensure the privacy of those individuals and to make sure that the information is only being used in a way that is appropriate and ethical. Transparency. Ensuring that AI systems are understandable and explainable at all levels. And accountability. So making sure that our senior leadership genuinely understand their level of accountability and the responsibilities that they're going to be taking on as a result of the deployment of AI. That means that they need to understand what AI is doing and how it's doing it. And they should be able to explain it. This is going to be really important. And we need to consider, alongside all of this, the ICO guidance, the Data Ethics Framework 2010, UK GDPR, and a whole range of sector-specific guidance. If you're working in policing, then they have now got the Artificial Intelligence Covenant, and we should be familiar with that. If you're working in healthcare, you should be looking at the MHRA guidance, and so on. So it's down to you as individuals working in the governance, risk and compliance arena to get your senior leaders on board with this and to make sure that your sector-specific regulations and mandatory requirements are being properly adopted. Why is all of this so important? Well, because already history is littered with examples of getting it wrong. The DPD chatbot incident, where the chatbot went rogue and started swearing at customers, and it was saying things like, yeah, well, DPD is a rubbish company, and if I was you, I wouldn't be using it, so there. And that's a polite version of what the DPD chatbot was coming out with. Those of you who have children may certainly remember during the COVID period where children were going to be marked using artificial intelligence, and the AI algorithm was going to determine what level of grade children would get because they weren't going to be sitting their exams. Because of a range of failures in the deployment of this, lack of transparency, lack of explainability, the algorithm itself not necessarily being robust enough, in the end, this was scrapped and we went back to teacher assessment. Several examples with Home Office facial recognition trials, Metropolitan Police and South Wales Police have both been through lengthy investigations, ICO investigations and audits, and court attendances because of lack of transparency and explainability. Now, I don't have an issue in the main with the use of automated facial recognition for the detection and prosecution of criminals. However, the public has the right to know what's happening and why it's happening, and they have the right to understand how the algorithms work. And use of artificial intelligence in areas like welfare and the benefits system and automated decision making to determine whether people should or shouldn't have access to their benefits. And again, because of a lack of transparency and explainability, without the transparency around the underlying governance, there have been problems with this. And I would encourage you to go off and look at these individual examples and familiarize yourselves with what went wrong here, because we can learn lessons as a result of these failures. So what can you do to prepare for introducing 42001 into your organization? Well, first, why not assess your readiness? If you have the skills in-house, then great. If not, organizations like Advent IM can help you with this. We can come in and we can do a gap analysis against the standard, and we can give you a roadmap for compliance. Start thinking about low-risk pilots of artificial intelligence projects. Let's not learn all of the lessons the first time round with a really high risk project. And let's introduce AI in a phased approach that allows us to understand and manage risks as we go along. Think about building internal governance capacity. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about here in terms of education, leadership, governance, risk management are all going to require an element of resource. But they should not be seen as optional. They are things that we should and must introduce as part of our adoption of artificial intelligence. And engage with trusted suppliers. There are organizations out there who have the skills, the knowledge, and the capability to help you to introduce the AI technology itself in a competent way that manages risk and ensures that transparency and governance takes place. Let's prepare now for the future rather than having the technology thrust upon us and then having to backtrack and retrofit all of these good things. Thank you very much for your attention today. I hope you found this informative. I would be more than happy if you have questions about this presentation to get in touch with us, and we will gladly answer any questions that you've got. If you want more information about 42001, then please do get back to us. And if you're interested in the wider area of governance, risk and compliance, then check us out across all of our socials. I've been Mike Gillespie, Chief Executive here at Advent IM. Thank you and take care.